When a family returned a beautiful German Shepherd to the shelter, their reasons stunned everyone. They said he was simply too big. "We don't want this. Put it back." The dog sat in his kennel not knowing what had happened to him. No one could have imagined what happened next. Before we start, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Alright, let's get started. The bell above the shelter's front door jingled and heads turned as a family stepped inside. A large German Shepherd trotting beside them. His name was Duke. 2 years old. Strong, healthy, and with eyes that radiated trust. But today, those eyes were clouded with confusion. Shelter worker Melissa greeted them with a warm smile, only for it to fade when the father slid a stack of papers across the counter. "We're returning him," he said flatly. Melissa blinked. "Is something wrong? Has he shown aggression?" "No," the father replied, glancing away. "He's just too big. Hard to manage." The words hung heavy in the air. Duke shifted on his paws, tail wagging hesitantly as if trying to win them back. When the mother let go of the leash, Duke stepped forward toward the children, only for them to turn away. Melissa's chest tightened. She knelt to take the leash, feeling Duke resist slightly, his eyes fixed on the door as his family walked out without looking back. The door shut with a hollow thud. Duke's ears drooped. He didn't understand the reason, only that the people he loved were gone, and he was once again surrounded by the unfamiliar echoes of the shelter. Duke's kennel was tucked in the far corner of the shelter, away from the main entrance. From there, he could see the comings and goings of other dogs, tails wagging as new families led them out to fresh starts. He waited by his gate every morning, ears pricking up at the sound of footsteps, hoping to see familiar faces, but the ones he longed for never came. The shelter was loud, constant barking, the clang of metal bowls, the sharp scent of disinfectant, but Duke remained quiet. At first he'd wag his tail at passing visitors, but as days turned into weeks, his enthusiasm faded. Melissa tried to coax him out with toys and treats, but his appetite had dwindled. He would sniff the food half-heartedly, then retreat to the back of his kennel, curling into himself. At night, when the shelter fell silent, Duke would lie with his head between his paws, staring at the door. The cold concrete felt nothing like the carpeted living room where he used to nap. The only warmth came from memories of a home he thought would last forever. But Duke didn't know yet. Life was about to change in a way he could never imagine. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon, when Ryan stepped into the shelter, shaking water from his jacket. He wasn't looking for a puppy or a small lapdog. He wanted a companion who could also keep watch over his quiet property. Still, nothing in his mind prepared him for Duke. Melissa greeted him, and began showing him the more adoptable dogs. Small, bouncy, eager to please. But as they walked past the rows of kennels, Ryan's gaze locked on the far corner. There, sitting silently while the others barked and whinnied, was Duke. The German Shepherd's amber eyes met his, steady and unblinking. Ryan paused. "What's his story?" Melissa hesitated. "His family brought him back, said he was too big." She sighed. "He's been here for weeks. Barely eats. Just waits." Something about the quiet dignity in Duke's posture struck Ryan. He knelt by the kennel, speaking softly. Duke's ears twitched, but he didn't move closer. Just studied this stranger with quiet curiosity. "Could I take him for a walk?" Ryan asked. Melissa smiled faintly. "Of course." As the kennel door opened, Duke stood, stretching slowly. For the first time in days, he stepped forward, cautious, but ready to follow someone into the rain. The rain had slowed to a drizzle by the time Ryan clipped the leash onto Duke's collar. They stepped out into the shelter's yard, the wet grass glistening under a gray sky. At first, Duke walked stiffly, head low, sniffing the ground as though searching for something lost. Ryan didn't rush him. He kept his pace slow, giving Duke space to explore. After a few minutes, Duke glanced up, meeting Ryan's eyes for a fleeting moment. Something unspoken passed between them. Caution, curiosity, and the faintest flicker of trust. Melissa watched from the doorway, quietly impressed. He doesn't usually warm up to people this fast, she murmured to herself. They reached the far end of the yard where Ryan knelt down, letting the leash slacken. "You're a good boy, aren't you?" he said softly. Duke hesitated, then took a tentative step close. His nose touched Ryan's hand, a quick sniff before retreating again. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As they made their way back, Duke's stride loosened, his ears pricking at the sound of Ryan's voice. For the first time since his return, his tail gave a faint wag. Ryan noticed, and it sealed something in his mind. This dog wasn't staying here. By the time they returned to the shelter's lobby, Ryan's mind was made up. He removed his damp jacket, set it over a chair, and turned to Melissa. "I want to adopt him," he said without hesitation. Melissa's eyes widened, then softened into a smile. "Are you sure? He's a big boy, needs space and patience." Ryan glanced at Duke, who was sitting calmly beside him, watching every move he made. "I think we'll do just fine." The adoption paperwork was straightforward, though Duke grew restless as the minutes passed. Each time someone walked through the door, his head would turn, ears twitching, as if wondering if he'd be left behind again. When the final form was signed, Melissa unclipped Duke's kennel tag and handed Ryan the leash. "He's yours now." They stepped outside, the cool air carrying the scent of rain. Duke hesitated at the threshold, glancing back at the shelter one last time. Then, with a small huff, he padded forward into the parking lot. As they drove away in Ryan's truck, Duke sat in the back seat, ears flicking at the passing sounds. He didn't know it yet, but this wasn't just another car ride. This was the start of his second chance. A week later, Duke had begun settling into Ryan's home. The wide yard gave him space to run, and the quiet countryside air seemed to soothe him. He followed Ryan from room to room, still watchful, as if making sure his new human never left his side. One night, just after midnight, Ryan was jolted awake by a low rumbling growl from the foot of his bed. Duke was standing rigid, ears forward, eyes locked on the darkened hallway. "What is it, boy?" Ryan whispered, pulling on a sweatshirt. Duke padded silently toward the front door, pausing to glance back, urging Ryan to follow. Through the window, Ryan spotted movement, a shadow slipping along the porch. Before he could react, Duke let out a deep, commanding bark that shattered the silence. The figure outside froze, then bolted into the night. Ryan quickly called the police, who arrived minutes later and confirmed his fear. It had been a would-be burglar. As the officers left, Ryan knelt beside Duke, rubbing his neck. "You just saved us, buddy," he said, his voice thick with gratitude. Duke leaned into the touch, tail thumping softly. This wasn't just a home anymore. It was a place worth protecting. News of Duke's midnight heroics spread quickly. By morning, Ryan's phone was buzzing with calls from neighbors, friends, and even the shelter staff. Melissa's voice was full of pride when she spoke. "I always knew he had it in him. Too big, they said. Turns out he was exactly the size you needed." A local reporter stopped by that afternoon, camera in hand, eager to meet the German Shepherd who had scared off a burglar. Duke sat proudly on the porch beside Ryan, accepting gentle pats from the journalist. As photos were taken, the article that followed painted Duke as a local hero, dubbing him the dog too big to fail. People who had never met him sent letters and treats, thanking him for protecting his home and human. Ryan watched it all unfold with a quiet smile. He wasn't surprised. He'd seen Duke's loyalty and intelligence from the start. "They gave up on him," Ryan told the reporter, "but I'm glad they did. It brought him to me." That night, as Duke lay at Ryan's feet, the sounds of the day fading into a peaceful silence, Ryan realized something. Sometimes the world's best protectors are the ones someone else thought they didn't need. If this story touched your heart, Make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe.